government news brief for Wednesday, December 21, 2016. In the news, $250 billion national budget for 2017 passed. Small and medium-scale miners will continue to benefit from fuel and concessions on mining equipment, and Guyanese will continue to access free heart surgeries in 2017. Stay tuned for these and other stories. Thank you for staying with us. I am Renetta LaFleur. Now for the details. Budget 2017 has been approved, providing $250 billion to provide the good life for all.
Budget 2017 worth $250 billion was passed today in the National Assembly at approximately 1440 hours. The budget passage follows the approval of Committee of Supplies for the allocation of Finance Ministry. Speaker of the National Assembly, Bartland Scotland, put the motion to the House.
I will now put the motion, which is that the National Assembly approves of the estimates of expenditure for the financial year 2017 of a total sum of $230,349,079,000, excluding $19,774,087,000, which is chargeable by law as detailed therein and summarized in the schedule, and agree that it is expedient to amend the law and to make further provision in respect of finance. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried.
The Finance Minister read the Appropriation Bill 2016 three times.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Appropriation Bill 2016, Bill number 24 of 2016, be read the third time and passed as printed.
Thank you. The question is that the Appropriation Bill 2016, Bill number 24 of 2016, be read the third time and passed as printed. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried.
Budget 2017 is the largest budget ever presented and marks the first in many years to be presented before the start of the fiscal year. Some of the key sectors that have been awarded large sum to better serve Guyana include education with $43.1 billion, public health $31.2 billion, public infrastructure $37.2 billion, public security $29.1 billion, and social protection $16 billion. The government sees this and other sectors as very important for providing the good life for all Guyanese. Therefore, emphasis has been placed to ensure that the high level of unemployment be addressed, there is improved health care delivery, new and improved infrastructure, proper security and social protection for children, the elderly and the differently able. Delon Sanko for the Government News Brief.
Small and medium-scale miners will continue to benefit from fuel and concessions on mining equipment parts as the contracts were renewed today by the relevant ministries and associations. More in this report from Gabriela Patram.
The Ministries of Finance and Natural Resources and the Guyana Gold and Diamond Miners Association, GGDMA, today renewed two contracts for concessions relating to the mining industry. The contracts will see small and medium-scale miners receiving duty-free concessions on imported mining equipment and a reduction in fuel. Minister of Natural Resources Raphael Trotman says that the government is happy with declarations and with the commitment of miners and that they have no desire to hinder, frustrate, or even close down the industry, as some would suggest.
At the same time as concessions are given, with every benefit comes responsibilities. We expect better declarations. We still believe that despite the high declarations that an amount of our gold, significant amount of our gold is not being declared. And so these two agreements will not just be signed or implemented simply because you are a miner, you shall be entitled. With that entitlement, as I said, comes some responsibilities.
Minister of Finance Winston Jordan says these agreements will be valid for 1 year.
We are committing to give you a level of comfort and concessions in the industry to see the industry grow, and to see the industry develop in a responsible environmentally friendly manner to make certain that household incomes grow and that we can prosper. We're about the good life, all right, for all Guyanese.
President of the GGDMA, Terrence Adams, expresses gratitude to the government for keeping its promise to the miners and renewing the contracts. He highlights that there is a lot of work to be done in executing the contracts.
Looking forward, probably in the near future, probably just being new in the year or before the end of the year, to have these meetings to get this thing rolling, because we will be staying our label as the big guys in GDMA benefiting from this, because we are the ones that are paying our taxes, but the other smaller medium scale miners will not pay. I would like to bring them in, but we like to have meetings with GA, with the government Minister of Finance and the GRA to work something out, to make sure everybody come on board to pay their fair share of the taxes.
Also present at the renewal of the contracts were officials of the Guyana Energy Agency and the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission. For the Government News Brief, I'm Gabriela Patram.
Public Health Minister assures that Guyanese will continue to access free heart surgeries in 2017. Zanil Williams tells us more.
Minister of Public Health, Dr. George Norton, reemphasizes that Guyanese requiring emergency heart surgery can access the service free. The government of Guyana, through the Ministry of Public Health, will subsidize the surgeries. A total of $200 million has been budgeted for this and other services under policy development and administration of the ministry.
To inform the honorable member that is for medical treatment due to the expansion of cardiac care based on the establishment of the hybrid catheterization laboratory facility that is provided by the hybrid cath lab from the accident and emergency department as an emergency is free of cost.
Patients needing dialysis are catered for as well. 40 sessions will be provided free of cost at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, GPHC.
Yes, it does cover patients for hydrodialysis, and also to say at the Georgetown Public Hospital at the moment, a patient can approach the accident and emergency department needing the use of that hybrid cath lab and will have access to that facility.
Last evening, while the budgetary allocations were being examined for the Ministry of Public Health, the opposition questioned the limited dialysis treatment offered to persons and asked what happens afterwards. Minister Norton explained that this is all the ministry could afford. Meanwhile, the services offered for heart surgeries coexist with expanded heart care services and facilities offered by the GPHC. I am Zanil Williams for the Government News Brief.
Any salary increase is dependent on the ability to source and maintain funds to do so, says the country's top financial official. Here is more.
Wages and salaries must be sustainable, and only if the funds are available to do so, if they are to be paid, says Finance Minister Winston Jordan.
That's why I can pay you a $25,000 bonus this year, because it's one-off and I can sustain it. And I don't have to sustain it, I'm sorry. I don't have to sustain it. Similarly, last year, I could pay you $50,000 a bonus, because again, it was one-off and I don't have to sustain it. Whenever you pay wages, regardless of how much you pay, it has to be a process where you have crunched the numbers, as they say, and you've come up with possibilities. At this lower end, this is the max I can do. At this higher end, this is the max I can do.
The finance minister was asked about the government's wages bill and calls from some quarters for more to be paid. The minister says that government's strategic approach is to negotiate around what is sustainable and available in the long term.
If you were to even do a quick analysis of some of the numbers that have been thrown out, you realize very early that these numbers don't lend itself in the context of the economy that we are carrying.
The finance minister cites the example of the head of the LEC group of companies, Dr. Torian Durga, who urged that common sense be shown during negotiations for higher wages.
He was chastised also by the unions and so on. He said, I must be a magician to be paying those kinds of increases relative to the downturn in the economy. And he said the private sector would have done so.
He explains that whilst the private sector is more private interest, government is mainly about social interest. Government, he says, has been able to come up with arrangements that would allow it to stay within the ballpark figure of what can be generated and sustained over time.
Every time you add something to the wage bill, it has to be sustained. You can't go back and cut it next year and say, well, look, things didn't work out. If there are revenue shortfalls, there's no such thing as going and cut wages. You have to continue paying what you would have agreed to pay. So one has to also look down the road to see what is possible before you can even end up agreeing to a number today.
Revenues can only grow so much, he says. Hence, there must be continued growth of the economy to increase revenue streams. Paul McAdam, Government News Brief.
Over $17.3 billion was approved by the Select Committee to strengthen the capacity of the public security sector. Isaiah Braffett reports.
Budgetary allocation of $11.913 billion for the Guyana Police Force, $2.5 billion for the Guyana Prison Service, $62.273 for Police Complaints Authority, and $1.369 billion for the Guyana Fire Service. The monies allocated will allow the ministry to effectively carry out its mandate towards strengthening the major sectors. $230 million has been allocated for the Citizen Security Strengthening Program. This amount came under scrutiny by Opposition Member of Parliament Juan Edgel, who said that the program underperformed in 2016 and questioned why so much money is being allocated for it in 2017. However, Minister Ramjatan outlines what is expected to be undertaken in 2017 with the monies allocated.
Well, first of all, the reason is because of why it wasn't spent during the course of this year. What was the reason? It had a very late start, but for 2017 we expect the amounts to be lots more and will include capacity training and community safety plans, $15 million, technical and vocational training programs, $40 million, job readiness training workshops, $2 million.
The program will also include the Smart City program, studying crime or violence in indigenous communities, safe neighborhood surveys, and the rehabilitation of 12 police stations. Edgel questioned whether the underperformance of the program impacted the crime situation in Guyana.
That would be very difficult to say, but I hardly suspect it was a negative impact. Because of a number of reasons, we still have managed to bring the crime rate down a far cry from last year.
Minister Ramjatan pointed out that the statistical sheet provided by the Commissioner of Police indicates that the crime situation is under control. Isaiah Braffett for the Government News Brief.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs will be constructing a new building to house the Foreign Service Institute to promote its foreign policy program. Tiffany Rodias has the details.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has allocated $100 million in 2017 to reconstruct the Foreign Service Institute building. The building will be located where the existing building is on Shiv Chandra Paul Drive, Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Granite says.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been struggling with that building for quite some time, and the various attempts at renovation seem not to have been effective.
Currently, the ministry has allocated $50 million for demolition works in 2016, Minister Greenwich points out.
The funding for the first set of, how shall I put it, first phase. First of all, you have to pay mobilization. There is work on the drawings and all these sorts of things. And there will be the removal of the old building, the pulling down of the old building.
The minister points out that staff at the Foreign Service Institute will be relocated when the construction begins in 2017. The building also houses the Protocol and Immigrants Departments of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. For the Government News Brief, I'm Tiffany Rogers.
We have come to the end of today's edition of the Government News Brief. The details of these and other stories can be found on GNU's website. We encourage you to visit and like our Facebook page so you can be informed as the news unfolds. Join us tomorrow for another edition of the Government News Brief. I am Renetta LaFleur. Thank you for watching.